Hi, my name's Kristine Kieland. I'm really happy to be here with you. Send you a nice, warm, loving embrace, and just lots of love. Lots of love and gratitude that we can share a few moments together. And I'm intuitive, and I really have a strong desire to expand not only my consciousness, but your consciousness, to create a greater awareness and end division and separation, and to just bring us all into one wholeness, into oneness consciousness. And the way we do that is that we just become aware of what we're experiencing, what we're creating, and we become very aware of ourselves and how we present ourselves. And so this morning, I took a pause, as I do every morning. I take a pause, I look around the earth, I feel the energy, and I feel I kind of just check in, see what's most present for me to be aware of. And then I check in with myself. Sometimes it's reversed. It's not always exactly the same. But I check in with myself to see, like, how am I doing? What am I feeling? And I realized that over the last couple of days, and probably the last couple of weeks, I've been holding a place of, it hasn't been very strong, but a little bit of uncomfortableness, a little bit of unrest, a little bit of distraction. I've been distracted. And I've noticed, and what I really tuned in this morning, was I was holding a place of expectation. And maybe you recognize it just as I do, that when I'm experiencing something, other people around me experience something. So my sessions today had a lot to do with expectation. And expectation is really a distraction. It's a diversion. It can cause disappointment. Expectation holds so many different things. It's a placeholder for things that don't create joy and prevent us from creating our best joyful, calm, peaceful, loving life, whatever life you desire to have. And so the expectation that I was feeling was this need, and it wasn't a need like I need food and I need water and I need love to thrive. It was this perceived need that I need to show up in the world, perhaps with somebody else's script. And the need was that I need to provide content and connect with people and make sure that I'm available. And about a month ago, I made a commitment to myself to get up every morning and share through video, just share with people. It went really well. Really liked it. I got really good response. People said they liked it. And just the fact that people said they liked it, it was helpful to their day, somehow created, like, I need to do this all the time, even if it's not in my best interest, even if there's nothing really pertinent to say that day. And that expectation kind of like the expectation actually stopped the flow. That's probably the best way to say it. When I'm in the flow, when you're in the flow, things are super easy. You don't think twice about it. It just comes into you, whatever it may be. And I had this, and it's part of perfectionism. So I look at what's running in my system so that I can correct it, decide, is this how am I going to choose? Is this what I want to go forward with? And sometimes things come up repetitively until you kind of get it and you do things differently. So expectation has not been the first time that it's come up in my life. It just is really something I'm taking a look at and I'm sharing with you today and see perhaps it works with you. Perhaps it's a concept that you're working through, that some of my clients have been working through. So the expectation for me that I show up in a certain way, that I be, actually, if I'm really honest, it's that I be all things for all people. Now, intellectually, I know, like, that just makes no sense. How can I possibly be all things for all people? Why would I want to be all things for all people? And why would all people be interested in what I have to say? Right? So I will be aligned with myself. I may be aligned with you. And that will shift and change as we evolve. My intention, which is very different than expectation, and it actually feels so much better. My intention is that I always, to the best of my ability, stay in the vibration of love. My intention is that when there's a thought or experience or something that is of value, I share it with you, that we have this open connection. My intention is that I show up in a consistent way to guide and support, but never to overrule you or be your leader or be your answer. My intention is that together, you and I, we create a space of love and harmony and oneness. And somehow in the expectation, that desire got lost. The desire to be of service to you and to me and to others got lost for an expectation that needs to be done a certain way in a certain time and by somebody else's formula. I just needed the reminder that that's not best for me. And then, because it's not just about me, it's about you, perhaps expectation plays a role in your life right now. And it's a good time to look at that. So not only do we have expectations on ourselves, expectations of perhaps what a work ethic is, or what an employee does, or what a spouse does, or a parent does, or a sibling. Like, we have expectations for the roles we play. So just take a look at what that expectation is. And then we also have expectations of how we think other people should show up in our life. And those expectations can actually be crippling. They can really hold us in a space. It can create loops where we just create the same experience over and over. If I expect you to feel the same way that I feel about experience, that just keeps me suffering. That keeps me in, it disconnects me from me. I don't really see you or see me. If I expect you to, and it can be what we call a good emotion or a bad emotion, it's really just experience. But I expect you, I'm looking at some different experiences. For instance, if I'm a parent and I expect my child to live life through my lens, that can be detrimental to me and to my child. And it can be, maybe I have an expectation that, I was ostracized in school, or I was left out, or I was bullied, or I was depressed, or I was anxious. And I'm so worried. I don't want my child to have that same experience of anxiety. So I expect them to respond to life the same way that I do. And you do that out of a sense of protection. It's not a bad thing. It's just, is it the best thing? So if I project my anxiety onto somebody else, I expect them to have the same experience, even though I know they're their own individual. I know they have their own soul plan. I know that it's actually there's different players. That creates a heaviness and that doesn't create the best scenario for them. But what it does for me, if I'm the one projecting the expectation out, it prevents me from looking at my own stuff. Because I'm the one feeling it. I'm the one feeling, oh my gosh, it's going to be horrible for my kid to feel anxiety, or for my spouse to feel anxiety. So I'm not going to look at me where that anxiety comes from. I'm going to project it out. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not best. And when you recognize that that's not best, you start to do things differently. Or perhaps you have an expectation of what love looks like, right? I can talk to 100 different people and I will get 100 different definitions of what love looks like. Whether it's from between spouses and partners, or parents and children, or siblings or friends, even in the same relationship, there will be a different definition of what love is. When you hold that expectation that love can only look this way, that love can only be in this container, that creates a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartache. And you're also telling perhaps you're like judging the other person that what they value is wrong. And somewhere in there, you're judging yourself for needing something that's not being met. So when you can accept what is, and then have your next step from that, you'll have a much more, you'll start to create the life that you actually desire. I want to share a really powerful story with you. To me, it's a very powerful story. Years ago, I worked with a young lady, beautiful young lady, and she brought her dog to me because the dog was really stressed out and having some, I believe it was anxiety issues and chewing up furniture, and just all of a sudden was just not the puppy that she had. So again, her expectations what the dog was going to be was not the dog that she was living with. She brought the dog to me. Literally within 30, 40 seconds, the dog just calmed down, laid on the floor, took a nap for an hour. The dog just brought her to me to bring some awareness to her. And this young lady was newly married, 2 or 3 years into marriage, and she was just heartbroken. And she was this close to ending her marriage because she had an expectation of what marriage looked like. And the expectation was from looking at her friends. Young gal, about 19 or 20. She had kind of a limited view of what marriage could be. Not wrong, just was not a full expansive limitation. She looked outside of her own marriage to see not what it was, but to see what it should be. And what she thought was, I need a marriage like my girlfriends who have husbands who bring home flowers every day. They bought a great big ring. They go on vacations. They were more social, perhaps would be a way. And they were outwardly with their love. And they were very, she worked with a gal who got flowers every single week. And so that to her was her definition. This husband loves my coworker so much more than my husband does, because my husband doesn't really talk a whole lot. He sits with me every night. He's pretty quiet. He's never sent me flowers. He's not overly affectionate. But when I met him, like, I just knew there was something about him I loved, and I wanted to be with him the rest of my life. So we sat and chatted a little bit, and I could look at his soul history. I was able to tell her, honey, your husband was raised by grieving parents. The parents had a child who died at 2 or 3 years old. And they were never able to really kind of parent in the way that her husband needed because they were grieving parents. And at that time, there wasn't a way for them to work through their griefs. And I told her, I said, just please stay with your husband. And to the best of your ability, help him work through his grief. He just needs to know what love feels like. So you love him in your best way, without any expectation that he responds in any way other than just allow him to receive. And that can be difficult because we want responses. When we talk to someone, we want a response. When I tell you I love you, I have an expectation that you're going to look at me and say, yes, I love you back. Or you're going to have an expectation of, newlyweds is this way, or, for whatever your expectation is. When it doesn't match, when the reality doesn't match your expectation, it can cause heartache or anger or a number of other things. So she was able to, and we worked a little bit together, and she was able to just accept her husband where he was at. And she gave him the love that she was looking for. And again, at the same time she did that, she filled herself up. She wasn't looking for it outside herself. And I just want to make it really a clear story here. So, and that took some doing too. Because when something's outside yourself, it can be taken away. She went back to, he loves me, he married me, we had this connection. I'm just going to be patient. I'm going to love him and show what love feels like. Not love through grief, but love through joy. And she concentrated on the gratitude within her marriage. And she concentrated on what they had that worked. And she started with, we wake up together, we share breakfast together, we go out the door together, and we both return home together. That was her foundation. Okay. And I kind of forgot about her. I didn't see her for a while. She called me about 18 months later. And she was so excited to tell me, one, that she was expecting, but she was so excited to tell me that, like, her husband, the man she saw, showed up after about 2, 3 months of her just loving him the way she needed to be loved and being grateful for what they did share together. He was able to open up and go into that hurt spot of him. One, the grief that he had of a lost sibling and the grief his parents had, and he could get out of that vibration. And if she'd have held on to that expectation of what her marriage should be and not what it was, or who he should be and not what he was experiencing, that lovely experience, and that was actually about 12 years ago, that lovely experience would have been, she would have negated it. And then there'd be all these other things to work out, right? So expectation just gets in the way. So I just encourage you to take a look at where expectation, how it plays a role in your life. If it's playing a role in life, does somebody have expectations of you? Do you have expectations there? Worked with another young person, and they never planned anything because they were always disappointed. Didn't plan celebrations, didn't plan birthdays, didn't plan them for themselves or their family. And the logic behind it was really good. If I don't plan this, I won't be disappointed. But the need for celebration, the need for connection, the need to be acknowledged and heard and seen was so great that at the last minute, this person would plan something and then nobody would show up because there wasn't enough time to show up for the last minute event. And that created more disappointment. And that created more expectation that life will never be the way I need it to be, which wasn't wrong, was just the way that person was doing life at that time. And eventually they could see the value in going to the original hurt, the original disappointment, the original I expected this and got something else, and let that be healed. And then the person's like free, like, I can plan things. I can actually plan things and I can get what I desire out of life, because what the person really desired was family harmony and family unity and family celebrations. Once that person dealt with their own disappointment, and actually it didn't even take that long. Why does it keep? Okay, I thought my recording paused, excuse me. Then she actually was creating the life that she desired. So just honor yourself. And if expectations, a concept you're working with right now, just take a look at it. See how it serves you. Because things serve us until they don't. And maybe you're ready to start changing the expectations of your life into something different. And a good rule of thumb is an expectation really, I want to say, sometimes an expectation can have a bit of, I should be doing this. Like with me, I should be making sure I'm connecting with people every single day outside a session. But it was interfering with my contentment in other parts of my life. And I was spending all day and all evening kind of ruminating why I wasn't on. As soon as I decided, as soon as I left the expectation, went back to, I know myself best. I know when I need something to share. Like the whole bubble just broke. So for you, a good rule of thumb is I get to do this. I'm excited about this. This is my passion. Living life with your passion, my friend Renee says that's her definition of compassion. Living with passion for your life is compassion for self. Allowing someone else to live with passion in their life without expectation or judgment, that's compassion. Compassion is also understanding that you're having your life experience, and I support you in that, and whatever that may be. See how words have such, they have not only have a vibration and frequency, but they hold meaning. They're not just mindless, it's not just mindless chatter. So I won't keep this too long. I just wanted to touch base with you, share my thoughts with you. Please share your thoughts with me. And this pause is just a connection from heart to heart and gratitude. Gratitude that you're choosing to be aware as I'm choosing to be aware. And the more we're aware of ourselves, the more aware of where we're experiencing love of ourselves and love of others, or perhaps we're not experiencing love, where can we choose to create more? Like that's evolution of humanity. That's creating oneness within ourselves and creating oneness across the planet. So I see you. I understand you. I'm grateful for you. I'm so thankful that you're here. And I love you. Thank you.